Most Americans oppose building a mosque near Ground Zero, but the liberal media think it's a great idea. They're pushing a left-wing agenda and calling it news. It's time the liberal media tell the truth. Go to tellthetruth2010.org and join the fight.
Representative Joe Barton spoke to CNSNews.com here on election night about the Republicans' plans as the majority party in the 112th Congress. Now, if the Republicans do take back the majority, which it looks like they will, what do you say to critics who argue, well, since President Obama will likely veto many of the things Republicans want to do, the Senate's still possibly going to maintain Democrat control. What do you say to critics who argue it may hurt them in 2012 if they look like the party of no?
That the Democrats will look like the party
if the Republicans look like the party of no, not wanting to work with President Obama.
Look, people like John Boehner and myself wanted to be bipartisan in the minority. I think he and I both are going to insist on being bipartisan in the majority, but it's going to be a conservative agenda. You know, repeal Obamacare, cut spending, work across party lines, send bills to the Senate that you can get 60 votes, and the president can sign those, or if he vetoes them, then we'll work hard to override those vetoes. And if we end up with, say, 250 Republicans or 240, then it takes 50 Democrats in the House and, say, 10 or 11 in the Senate to, well, it'd actually take 15 in the Senate to get the two-thirds vote to override the veto. And I don't know that Obama, with his approval rating of 40-something%, is going to want to pick a fight if the bills that, you know, Speaker Boehner and the Republicans are sending to the Senate are supported by 60 to 70% of the American people. I mean, I would think he would want to work with us, and if he does, I know that we'll work with him.
If he doesn't want to pick a fight, do you think it may hurt the Republicans if he takes credit for some of the legislative successes?
Well, you know, we reformed welfare when President Clinton was president and Newt Gingrich was Speaker. And that was a bipartisan that came out of the House. Bill Archer, the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee then, led the fight. Ultimately, the president signed the bill, and both sides could legitimately take credit. I don't think Republicans are as interested in the credit as we are interested in doing the right thing and keeping our promises that we really have made across the country in this pledge to America that John Boehner helped put before the American people.
So in your mind, the Republicans' goal is not to just say no to President Obama and not make him look bad.
I didn't run for re-election to say no. John Boehner doesn't want to be Speaker to say no. Eric Cantor doesn't want to be Majority Leader to say no. We want to help America. We want to put people back to work. We want to create jobs. We want to reduce bureaucracy and cut spending. You know, this is a great country if we give people the opportunity to help themselves. And that, to me, is what we promised in the Pledge to America, and it's what we're going to deliver when we get the majority in January.
And one last question for you. As far as cuts are concerned, cutting government, where do you think those cuts will come from? What would you like to see if defense isn't cut significantly, if entitlements aren't cut significantly? Is there much left to really cut?
Again, in our Pledge to America, we weren't specific, but we promised to go back to the discretionary domestic spending levels in 2008. And that's about a $100 billion cut in domestic discretionary. I think you start there, and then over time, I think you put everything on the table. Of course, it has to be decided through the normal legislative process. I think you have to look at entitlements over time. Certainly the defense budget shouldn't be exempt. We're in a war right now, so you have to be careful about that. But if we have an open, transparent, regular order process, not these huge bills in the middle of the night, so that there's a real dialogue and everybody feels a part of the process, I think we can come up, again, led by Republicans, but on a bipartisan basis with spending reductions that people will support. So short answer is start on the domestic discretionary side, like we said in our pledge, but over time, take a look at everything to see if we can't reform it and save some money.